Okay, welcome and thanks for watching. Long story short, I had a lot of history with micros and eventually built a 5-inch. Missing a motor right now. And I fly in my yard a lot, so this guy is just too much for the size yard I have, and it's just a beast. T-motor, 45 amp ESC, F7 flight controller. Yeah, it's got massive amounts of power. So I wanted to build something that had similar amount of punchiness in the throttle. Micros are kind of known for a wonky throttle, and I wanted to see if I could build something that could get close to the throttle response and punchiness of that 5-inch. So that's what led me here. This is currently line of sight only. I do fly FPV, but I'm not the greatest at it. I can fly it, but I prefer line of sight for now. So these are the new Betafpv 1204 motors, 5000 kV, Betafpv 100HX frame, which has broke twice now. You can see the crack in the mount there. So I'm looking for something that can hold up a little bit better, because I wanted to run 4S. I wanted to run 4S because I wanted to get that punchiness that was similar to the 5-inch. So this is the Betafpv 20 amp toothpick flight controller / ESC combo. It's been awesome so far. It is missing a capacitor on it, but still runs fine. I'll talk about the motors first. They have a very, very thick bell, and really, really thin air gap. They're quiet in relative terms. Probably not on so much on 4S. My neighbors probably hate this thing because it's pretty zippy. But back to the motors, they're great. They provide ample power for this little guy, and they're smooth. When I first tested them in beta flight, I had to look down to see if the motors were even running. And for line of sight, I've got these LEDs, tiny LEDs up front, just up front, and they help a lot. These are the HQ 65 millimeter props, but if you can tell, you can obviously see that they are hard mounted. So on 4S and kind of the power and speed that this thing is ripping at, when you bump into something, the pop-off 65 millimeters just don't do it. I prefer these screw mounts, and they just stay on better, and they take a beating. So I went over the majority of the components and mentioned that I'm running 4S on this thing. So obviously it's tiny. And how do you get a 4S battery and not bog this thing down completely? So when I was kind of planning the build with this quad. I found a company that makes, it's only one company that makes a 300 milliamp 4S. That be it right there. Just kind of give you a little hint there of where it comes from, because this is the only one that makes them this small. Is this the perfect battery for this quad? I don't know. I haven't looked at flight times or efficiency or went really deep into it. I don't care. As long as the thing tears, that's all I really care about, even if I only get 2 minutes. So that's the 300 milliamp, and then I'm running the Tattoo 450, which seems to be a pretty good battery for it. This Tattoo is significantly heavier than the 300 milliamp. Can kind of see their size difference. And I'm also running, and my favorite battery for it is the GNB 450 high voltage 4S. It's a pretty big battery for this little quad, but it just tears on this battery. Just provides massive power for these motors and this combination. I do plan on switching this out, even though my motor leads are kind of short now, and trying the HX 115 frame, which actually they made that frame 4 mil thick, so it's quite a bit thicker. And unless I can find a 100 millimeter frame that's thicker and that can mount this toothpick flight controller. Most of the frames in that size are 2 mils. iFlight makes their Turbo B 120 RS or the 120 RS Plus frame. I believe those are 2.5 millimeters, but they only take 16 by 16 stack. They won't mount this board. So I'm actually looking at custom ordering a frame, but they only it in 85 mils or 115, and I think 85 is just too small. So we're going to try the Betafpv HX 115 frame, which is on the way. So I talked about batteries, talked about the motors, the props. I also do have a tune for it on the Gemfan 2540 props. They're pretty aggressive, and it's okay on that. They provide much more grip because they got that little wingtip on underneath, so they're very grippy. But I think these provide more speed. So I am going to try and get some flight footage at the end of this video. And the tune definitely had to turn down the gain on 4S with these motors and this combination. I think I have it pretty good though, and it tracks pretty well. It holds the line pretty well. It's not all over the place, and yeah. So if you have questions about that, you can send me a message, info at skydance, skydance.com. I do hold a Part 107 license and do this professionally also. If you haven't noticed by now, my work board is an Inspire 2 calibration board. Probably not the best idea, but it turns out pretty good that you can see little tiny screws and little tiny parts on the back of this. So yeah, I do have an i2 and a Mavic Air as a backup. So I think that's it for now, and I'm gonna end this video. Try to with some flight footage of this little guy. The start of the video had the throttle response and the punch, and mainly wanted to get the audio because it just sounds so snappy. So thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, send me a message. Okay, final thoughts. When you use, if you're going to use the HQ props that are screw mounted, you want to make sure that you use the right length of screw, because these props from the side are thinner than the Gemfan 2540s or thinner than most of a 2-inch prop that I've seen. So you don't want to use the same screws that you were using on the 2540s, because you'll go down into the stator and ruin your motors, and then you'll really be frustrated. So that's one final thought. The other final thought is this capacitor. I tried mounting it directly to the board. It didn't work out that well, but this lead on the GNB is the factory lead, and you can see it's pretty long because these are Whoop batteries. But in order to get this out of the way, and you can see it's not always out of the way, it's been struck, I cut the shrink wrap about halfway off to allow this to bend this way. Otherwise, because this lead comes soldered onto this board, otherwise you can't get the battery on there. You can't get as short as you want to. I shortened the lead on this because it was about as long as the GMB, and it was just too much lead, and I wanted to try and, you know, get as light as possible. I think I lost a gram or something like that from doing the battery lead, shortening that. So this is also running the ESC firmware and Betaflight 4.1 for RPM filtering. I don't know if it's helping, but it's seeming to do pretty well, and you can see the LEDs hopefully in the video, and they're pretty bright, and this guy is so tiny. Some people are probably saying, why would you fly line of sight something this small? There's another YouTuber that's pretty popular that is just an absolute monster with line of sight. He's the best I've ever seen, and this quad has a little bit of his building style. I tried to kind of duplicate it, although I don't think he's ever flown something this small, and I don't know how you would ever see something this small at the distances that he sees. So let's get a weight with the 400 milliamp 3S. Get the scale on here. And this is with the 300, if I can get the quad on there. 85.6, pretty light. And Here's the quad with the GNB attached. Get that straight a little bit more. 105.5. Not the perfect setup because of the frame breaking in that rear mount screw. If this frame was 2.5 or 3 mil, it would be perfect, and it may even fly better with that type of stiffness. When I go to the HX115, with being 4 millimeters thick for a bottom plate, I guess I'm gonna find out what it runs like. So I'm hoping to end you with some flight footage, line of sight, and check out. I'll hopefully have more stuff to come with videos. Thanks. Alright, here we go with a GNB 450. Take a second to start up and get ready here. Oh, here we go. I'm not the best pilot, but I'm trying not to put my camera person and mainly get the audio and the punchiness.